You're with the dude, man. It's yours truly, Stewie, aka J Nix the Flies guy on the radio, man. I told y'all we doing it big, and I'm so happy to be a part of this particular program called Fathers Incorporated, man. And when I tell you it's amazing brotherhood, and I'm encouraging all my fellas out there, all my fathers out there to get involved, man. Let's get involved and let's make sure that we hold each other accountable for everything that's going on as far as raising our kids and doing what we're supposed to do as men. All right, so let me introduce my panelists, okay? I got my boy Kenny, you know what I'm saying, CEO of Fathers Inc. What's up, brother?
Jay, what's happening, sir? Let me just tell you, the man, bro. You are the man. That's all I gotta say.
I'm just trying to be like you, man.
Listen, let me tell you, we helping so many dads is ridiculous. I had to go back and listen to the show we just did because I kept saying, I was like, yo, what did we say? That's like got these brothers calling, like looking for help now. So I had to go back and listen to it. And I just wanted to thank you, man, because just the candid conversation you and I was having is stimulating these things in brothers, and they're coming to us looking to find a way to be a better dad. So thank you, bro.
So it's been going that crazy for real?
Man, listen, I can't. We had to talk offline, man. But some of the cases that these guys got, they're deep and complex.
Wow.
And as a result of that being so deep and complex, they're hiding because they don't know which way to go and which way to turn. I'm like, listen, you know, knowledge is king. And so it's not that you can't overcome it. You just have to understand how to overcome it, which is what this whole fatherhood, this brotherhood is about. It's about the better brother you are, the better father you're going to be. No man is an island. You got to be an accountability circle of accountability and wisdom to help you through life. And that's what this is about. And so you're even helping me understand even deeper what this work is about.
Bro, I definitely appreciate you. But we have a panelist of some other brothers in our brotherhood.
Absolutely.
You know let's get 3D on the line. You know what I'm saying? 3D checking in. Should I go ahead and introduce everybody else? Y'all just want to go ahead and just get busy. Also, I got Dr. Jeff, you know what I'm saying, checking in, and Sheriff Patrick.
Thank you for having me.
How y'all brothers doing now?
Doing well.
Now, so let's talk about this fatherhood. Matter of fact, introduce yourself. We already met Kenny.
I'll go first. My name is Dennis 3D Scott. Some of y'all might remember me, my Georgia Tech days back in 1987 and 1990. Lethal Weapon 3, myself, Kenny Anderson, and Brian Oliver. Played in Orlando with Shaq and Penny, and now I'm actually in my little green room here at NBA TV and TNT. So right when I get done with you guys, I'm walking right onto the set of NBA TV. But when I got the phone call for Kenny to be a part of this virtual conversation about being a better dad, about being a better brother, but more importantly, being accountable to your word, I had to be here tonight.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Sheriff Patrick.
Hey, first of all, thank you. Thank you for the conversation and the leadership around this subject, right? I'm Patrick Labott. I'm the 28th Sheriff of Fulton County, the largest county in the state of Georgia. And for us, it is, every day I go to work and I see upwards of 2,500 young men and in a space that we have to recognize, especially from a law enforcement perspective, that these are somebody's sisters or brothers and that are locked up, somebody's father, et cetera. And anything we can do to help really focus on what this looks like for fatherhood. We have a blended family, my wife, Jackie, and I, and we have two young men that are both 22. They're grown now. Let me be clear. But I was raised by a single mother, so there are obstacles out there. But the one thing we can't do as young men is give up. And there are people depending on us, and certainly any opportunity we get to share from all perspectives. Again, I'm just honored to be here, and certainly look forward to the conversation.
Okay, doctor.
My name is Dr. Jeff Gardeire. I'm a clinical psychologist. I do much of my work from New York City, but I've also done a lot of work in Atlanta too. I kind of call Atlanta my second home, at least before the pandemic. Been in New York since, but great to be on with all of you.
Okay, now let's talk, fella. Let's get into it because, first of all, in 2021, it's already hard being a black man in America. Let's go ahead and say that right now. It's difficult being a black man in America. We go through so many things. A lot of kids feel like they're stuck in the hood. They can't do this, can't do that. And I think that all builds into being a father and just being a better brother, period. So what's the mood among black fathers as it relates to raising their sons in today's social justice climate?
Kenny,
Well,
you
I
want to
think
start?
certainly, yeah, I think certainly with the killings of many unarmed black men, that there are a lot of fathers out there and moms, but let's talk about the dads tonight, who are very much concerned about the physical and emotional health of their black sons, of their black children. Certainly, it's more than about giving the talk, but more about having open communication with your child, teaching them how to de-escalate a situation, how to stay out of a particular situation. But there's a lot of fear that black parents are having for their children, because they know it has become a very hostile world, from the what we've seen, like with the killings that I talked about, right down to the insurrection in Washington, D.C., to the suppression of voter rights. They really do feel that there is a lot of traumatization going on of brown and black people right now, and that directly impacts our children who've been disproportionately affected by COVID-19, social isolation, and all of the things that have come with it. As a matter of fact, we've seen record numbers of anxiety and depression since COVID, and as well, we've seen suicide rates starting to increase in some of our communities.
So let's talk about just depression. Okay. So I can tell a personal story. Like, I'm to a point where, I have 3 kids, what I'm saying? I have a 4-bedroom house. Sometimes I feel like, because my situation, my child's mother's not always there, I even get to a point where anxiety, I get upset, I get frustrated, I get angry, because I'm looking around. It's like, I got this 4-bedroom house, my kids are not here, they're not running around. I feel like sometimes, what am I living for? What would you tell some of those fathers, even the fight and how to deal with depression and just going through certain things, as far as even being a father, and maybe possibly not even being able to see their kid, like not go to their first soccer game, not be able to go to their school and know what's going on? What would you tell that father?
I would tell that father to do exactly what you're doing right now. Talk about it. Don't internalize it. Don't keep it inside. Be able to connect with other people and share your stories. But most importantly, it's not about complaining or crying about it. What you've done is actually expressed what's on your mind, what's on your heart. If you keep it inside, it begins to fester. It hurts you emotionally and psychologically. It hurts you spiritually. It hurts you physically. But also, don't be afraid to utilize therapy. Don't be afraid to utilize counseling. Kenny and I have talked about smashing the stigma of mental health challenges. Notice I didn't say mental illness. I said mental health challenges, because we're all going through them. But it's important that we also share empowerment strategies. And that's why we're all here tonight.
Perfect. So, Sheriff Pat, tell me this. A lot of people, considering you're in law enforcement, what I mean, it's a lot of brothers out there. Like, I have never actually had a bad encounter with police officers, but as you know, like, everything's hitting the news now because we have social media. What would you tell a lot of these black brothers out here about even interacting with police? Like, why is it that when we, as black men, even with me, knowing I ain't do nothing, I have nothing going on, I'm straight legal, never been locked up, but when I see those blue lights behind me, my heart instantly jumps out my chest. And I almost feel like I fear for my life. Like, I don't know what this situation is going to turn. What would you tell some of those fathers about dealing with police officers?
But it's not just you, right? So when the lights go on behind me, right, I tighten up as well. And there's a stigma that goes along with driving while black, right? So we have to recognize, and this is what I tell the audience and each of you the same thing I tell both of my 22-year-old black males. Is there's no need to be dead right. So there's a way to have a conversation and not try and hold court on the side of the road. We can move into a space that allows us to continue the conversation. And as I would do anyone, any of you, yes, sir, doctor, use people, the appropriate pronouns and make people understand that the court does not need to be held on the side of the road. Understand that there are ways to deal with each situation. You heard Doc say earlier, and I really appreciate this, is de-escalation can happen on both sides. And I too have been pulled over, but for the fact that I'm the sheriff, there have been times when people have really spoken ill, and you have to remind people, hey, this is an opportunity for us to engage in communication. The rest of it we can deal with when we get home, right? We can vent when the officer drives off. We can vent when we get to the nearest parking lot. There's a way to deal with it. I know there's a whole society out there that will say we just simply should not be treated like this. I agree. Let us deal with the bad apples, right? I tell all of my entire community, you can call me directly, right? Let us figure out how we solve this together. But I believe from a law enforcement perspective, because we are where we are, it is our obligation to extend the olive branch. We have to do better. And so, again, starting at the top where I am, we're able to push that message down so that we, from a communal standpoint, do just a better job.
Right, perfect. 3D, what would you tell some of these brothers out here about even just dealing with getting pulled over and what they should do? You know what I'm saying? Just as a black man or even as a father, period.
Well, I think the first thing is we all have to check our emotions when those lights come on. I think everyone just hit it right on the head. The first thing we think of is we get emotional when we see those blue lights come on. And then we start to react versus calming down versus, to your point, you know, Jay, you know you've done nothing wrong. So if you know you've done wrong, you have to find that happy place to put your hands where they're supposed to be calm, and answer all the questions the best way you can. Secondly, I want to get this point out. I think Doc said earlier, the biggest thing for me in today's climate and with the pandemic and all the killings going on is talking to my 15-year-old son who is 6'9", who likes to walk home from the gym. Back in the day, growing up in Washington, D.C., we could walk from the boys club, the YMCA, and not really worry about things. So to be able to answer that question, Dad, why? Why is racism so prevalent today? Why is it so much hatred today? That's been the hardest question to answer to my 13-year-old, my 15-year-old is why? Why did Martin Luther King do this? Why is the Rodney King video coming back up? It's like, that's been the hardest part. Because I know my time is short. And lastly, for you single fathers out there, the best advice I can give you, put your best foot forward and make sure you put the second foot behind it. What I mean by that, my simple story, and Kenny, you know the story. When I got custody of now my 26-year-old daughter back while I was active in the NBA, I was playing a game against the Lakers on a Monday night, took a cab straight to the airport, and then red-eyed all the way back to Orlando to go to a parent-teacher meeting that only lasted a half an hour. Then hopped back on the plane and flew all the way to Portland to catch up with the team. I did that for 2 years. And the judge said, please give Mr. Scott his daughter. And the reason I'm telling this story, because Kenny knows the long story, I'll give you the short version. By showing the judge that I put my word and my money where it was supposed to be, that I said I was going to be somewhere, and I showed up. So after 2 years, the mother didn't show up as much as I showed up. It had nothing to do with money. It had mostly to do with I said what I was going to do, and I was where I was supposed to be, and that's how I got custody. So for all you single dads out there and all you dads fighting for visitation rights, or you're fighting because you really, 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 really love your child, right? Stop talking about it and be about it. Because that's what's going to change the judge's mind. Let me give you another phrase called guardian ad litem. Go Google that phrase if you don't know about it, because that's what I had to learn what that meant. I hired the best guardian ad litem in the world down in Florida, and I changed all the child support laws in the state of Florida. So you can go Google Scott versus Finley. That's me. And all the billionaires and millionaires in the whole state of Florida use my case to get their child support down or to get their visitation rights adjusted. All because I said I was going to be where I wanted to be. So all you guys think about that for a second. You live in Atlanta, you might live in DC. I was flying from one coast to another coast because I was not going to let the system tell my daughter that her dad didn't love her. I'm going to say it again. I was not going to let the system tell my daughter that her dad didn't love her. So those are my 3 stories I want to share with everyone today. Kenny, you know how much I love you, brother. I gotta go feed the family because they're looking at me right now through the window. I'm about to be on TV. For some of y'all right now, when you get off air, I'll be on TV tonight from 7:30 to 10:30, NBA TV. I love y'all. Kenny, we'll catch up soon. Thanks for having me, guys. I wish I could stay a little bit longer, but I want to make sure I got those couple stories in for you.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get back into it. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I seen a guy actually comment and said he hadn't seen his kid in 5 years, and he's going through a thing where he's depressed. Like, that's real. That frustrating is real. Like having to wave to your kids through a window, and they sitting on the couch because their mama said they couldn't come downstairs is real, and it happens every day, and it's happened to me. What would you tell that brother? Like, because the whole thing, everybody says fight. Okay, we got court costs, all right, lawyers costs. My retainer for my lawyer is $5,000. Everybody's not in a situation to even afford $5,000, and then on top of that, my child support is $2,000 a month. For a person that cannot physically afford that, how do they go about fighting in court to even try to get visitation, try to get the child legitimated? How do they do that? Like, what funds can you give? Like, what do they do?
So I saw that too in Antonio, and I wrote down 2 things that I want you to remember. And so it's not always as Dee said about the money. So the 2 things, let me say them real quick. Stay focused on the goal. The goal is you want to be with your children. And while there may be an obstacle right now, there may be an obstacle tomorrow, there may be an obstacle next month, there won't always be an obstacle. You can't keep kids locked up forever. And I hate to tell people sometimes that you might have to wait 6 months, a year, 3 years for the situation to correct themselves, for you to be able to get to your kids, but never, ever take your eye off of the goal. That's what Dee was talking about with respect to getting on that plane every day. Irregardless of what was going on in his life, his goal was to spend time with his children. The second thing I will say to you, Antonio, is never, ever give up. Never give up. Never think that the system has you beat. Never think that the mom has you beat. Never think that life has you beat. You have the ability to never give up. If it's just nothing but writing your child a letter every day and putting it in a box until that child is able to take that box from you into their hands, and you can give them a box that's full of 3 years worth of letters every day you wrote when you were thinking about them. So all the other stuff we can help in programming, we can help get you through systems, but those 2 things, stay focused on the goal and never ever give up, are the 2 things that are going to get you back to where you want to be. And
I would say that there's a third thing, if I can jump in very quickly, and that is what you said was absolutely perfect. Why do these things happen? Why is it that we can't be with our children in these situations? 9 out of 10 times, it's because we are at war with the other partner. We are at war, in this case, with the mother. And so as much as it hurts, Jay Nix, as much as, you feel that, you've got to win and, you've got to beat that other person at the game, don't do that. What you need, as you're doing all of the things that Ken is telling you and what 3D said, at the same time, slowly but surely, a minute at a time, 1 foot in front of the other, begin rebuilding a relationship with the mother of those children. Because at the end of the day, if the 2 of you can be in the same room, can begin to talk to each other without animosity, you may never be romantic partners again. You may not even be really good friends. But if you can be in the same room and get on the same page of being there for your children and burying that hatchet, you will have an easier path in spending that time with your children.
So answer this, Dr. Jeff, how do you get to that point? Because sometimes, even as men, first of all, I want to tell all the men out there, you got to look in the mirror. When you make mistakes, you got to be apologetic. And if you do make a mistake, you got to make sure you don't make that mistake again. Trust is everything, I feel like, in a relationship. And even with me, I've made mistakes and missed some pickups here and there, you know what I mean? But now as I've gotten older and have changed, my mindset has changed. So how do you get that other person to realize that you're a different person, you're more mature, you care a lot more, and you want to be involved a lot more? How do you get that person to even see you as a new light?
First and foremost, Sheriff, I know you want to jump in on this, so I'll make my statement very quick. first and foremost, start taking responsibility for your own actions. It's so easy to keep pointing and projecting and being involved in splitting. Oh, I'm good, she's bad. She does all of these things. I'm the only hope for my kids. You know, why does she keep doing these things to me? Well, take responsibility for what you can do. Take responsibility for your own actions. Be a good actor, and eventually she will begin to see, okay, he's modeling some behaviors for me. Maybe I need to take a look at myself and stop blaming him for everything, because it becomes a blame game all the time. And we know what the collateral damage is. It's the children.
Right.
So let me jump in, and I appreciate it, Doc. I lived this. Let me be clear. For 3 years, and I heard what Kenny said, and I can appreciate the note writing, right? I took it a step further. I went to the store and got me one of those little day calendars. And for 3 years, I wrote every day of the week that I either had the kids or I didn't. And simply not be afraid to say, I love you, right? Your mom and I are not getting along, right? You may never understand this, but I focused on not being mean, right? Not saying anything disparaging in front of the kids, although the reverse was not true. And so what we have to do as parents too, especially on the dad side, is you have to understand when you're able to see your child, there's even a level of decompression that your child goes through, because that other person may not be that kind, and you're the scum of the earth. And so you have to be patient. You have to do what you say you're going to do. You have to be where say you're going to be. And here's what really got me through that piece. It doesn't matter where you are in the country. The state of Georgia was not kind to dads for a long time. You have to go out and you have to educate yourself. If you can't afford a lawyer, you can go down to, we fortunately now in Fulton County have family court. You can go and educate yourself. When can you file? What do you need to file? How do you file it? How is it? How you can go to, in some instances, you can go to some colleges, right? And even monitor a class, right? Just sit there and try to educate yourself on your rights, and equally be able to do some of the legwork so the lawyers don't cost as much, right? So I lived that whole process, and ultimately, and this is what kids, we say all the time, kids are resilient, but the one thing that I lived for was the day that my kids got to a certain age when they got to make a choice as to where they wanted to be. And they themselves are able to discern what love looks like. And so you get there, it's this huge release. I'm emotional about it only because I lived it. And so we are where we are. Conversations like this just help us get better and become better men. So thank you all. And just, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Man. So May, of course, May is Mental Awareness Month. What can a lot of these guys do? Because mentally, I think a lot of people are beat up. You know what I mean? A lot of these brothers out here beat up. They're getting beat up. The job is not right. You know, you get dogged out by your girl. You know, so you get dogged out by your baby mama. As men, sometimes we feel like we have to be so strong and cry behind closed doors, but it really is affecting us. What can some of these guys do to even just release some of that pressure and release some of that depression period to even get back on the right track to move forward?
You know, I think one of the challenges that we have is kind of thinking differently about our current circumstances, right? And I think the thing that makes our current circumstances so hard to deal with each and every day is because they hurt. But anything worth having in life hurts during the process. This is no different from pumping weights every day, going to a job, investing. All that, you're going to lose some money. You're going to hurt it this day. You're going to lose a girlfriend. You're going to hurt this day. But everything in life worth having is going to hurt. This is no different. And the challenge for us as men is to not allow being hurt to hinder what we ultimately want in life, having that long-term goal. Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? How do I want people to see me? Irregardless of all this stuff that's happening, right? Somebody put in the chat about watching videos and all this stuff happening on TV. That's the reality of life. But you know what? My mother used to always say, you have one control over the TV that allows you to control the messages that you get, and that's the on and off button. Turn it off. If things are getting in your head that's diluting how you think about yourself, distorting what you think about the world, angering you about how you see police and how you see women and how you see people in your community, disconnect and reset a new reality for you. Reset a reality that says, irregardless of all the chaos and dysfunction that's going on around me with my kids, with the mother of my children, with social justice, whatever it is, this moment will not define what I want to be.
Amen. I can sum that up and I say this, hopefully it won't get anybody in trouble. When you're going through hell, keep going. Right? Don't stop there. Don't stop, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. And we just have to know that and Kenny put it best earlier, we just can't give up.
Okay. So let's speak on social media. Okay. So this social media thing is definitely way bigger than what it is. Right now, you're able to see people that got it and see people that didn't have it. I just remember I had this conversation all the time. NTV Cribs was the only spot you could see a mansion in somebody's house. But right now, because we have Instagram, it's a mentally mind F word. You know what I'm saying? To see brothers with a whole lot of money. They got the girls, they got the cars, and all of this. And I think a lot of these brothers are making bad decisions. They're going out doing this thing. They got to rob this or rob that. And some of the stuff that's on social media is not even real. What would you tell some of the brothers just about being okay with being who they are and working hard and staying focused? Because right now we got some brothers right here. Y'all brothers, y'all got, that's a nice house back there. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be a basketball player. You ain't got to be the dope boy. You ain't got to do all that. All you got to do is focus and be a man and be a grown man and focus on what you want to do. What would you tell some of them cats out there that's letting social media really get to them?
I think you have to be absolutely genuine and believe in who you are, because you can see all of these fabulous backgrounds and houses and cars. And I can tell you as a psychologist, and not to take anything away from, sisters and brothers who've earned those things. That's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't mean that they're happy. As a matter of fact, when we see people have those things and, they're putting them out there all the time, that's a false bravado. It's a mirage. It's a way of telling themselves that they're happy and trying to convince other people that they're happy, but they're not dealing with the real pain in their hearts and in their souls. So whatever it is that you have that is yours, that you earned, that should make you happy. It's not about having 5 cars or a big house. It is about what you worked for, what you believe in, and what it is that you are bringing into the world and how you're taking care of your children. Because I know a lot of, and not to put down any rich folks, but I know a lot of rich folks who have absolutely no relationship with their children, and folks who are struggling every day get to see their kids every day, get to model positive behaviors for them. So it's not what's out here that counts. It's what's in here.
Yeah. Add on, Kenny or Pat?
Jay, social media is the greatest mask of deception ever created. Like, nothing on there should be seen as reality, right? It's just snapshots in one's mind, depending on what they're feeling at the time and what they want to project to the world. If you look at my social media pages, not the business side of my social media pages, but my personal pages, all Kenny Braswell is going to show you is my highlights. I'm not going to spend time on social media showing you my lowlights. So you may think of me a certain way because you may say, man, that cat's always winning. He never loses. I only post maybe 2 or 3 highlights a week. What does that say about the rest of my life? The rest of my life, I'm trying to deal with the lowlights in my life, right? To get to something I can have so I can actually show and feel good about, right? Because I want to be able to project something good. I think that if you're not living the life that you want to live, social media has a way of sucking your dreams away because it makes you feel like your dreams aren't big enough.
And I see it. I see it every day, right? I won't say wannabe rappers. You see it. You see the money. You see the guns. I also see them in jail, right? These are the same people that social media. What that looks like. You have to figure out what makes you happy. My wife says all the time, you can make $1 million, but if you spend $1,001, you still broke. Right? You got to figure out what that happiness is and live within that. And we just have to continue to have this conversation so that people understand and they learn every day that it's a facade up there, right? We can get virtual backgrounds and now, Doc, that's a nice house. Don't get me wrong. You can tell without the animation that, I can see that. But you
mean my head's not disappearing into it?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's just a space that we have to ingrain in our young men that you have to earn it, right? You have to get up. You have to get up before everybody else and work harder than everybody else. And it doesn't matter what color they are. You just have to figure out, do your homework. You can model. And I did this in my professional career, and I'll be quiet. I found one of the most dynamic leaders in law enforcement by accident. And I went home. This was when Google first came out. Googled him and figured out what my path was, because he was successful on a national level. And then he went to Clark, I went to Clark. He got his master's degree, I got my master's degree. And so what I do, and this is what I tell people all the time, remove the excuses, right? Create an excuse-free zone. And then don't worry about thinking outside the box, move the box. You put a box there, you put limitations there, and then we move forward.
Okay. What would you tell, I get a lot of, because since I've been working with Kenny and Fathers Inc., I get a lot of fathers that come up to me just personally in the club or if I'm out, and they say, Jay, I really want to be in my kid's life, but I ain't been there for 5 years. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know if my son or my daughter even want me to be in their life at this point. What would you tell that father? What should he do? What should his mindset be?
For me, it is, one, don't be angry, right? Because I mentioned earlier, I grew up without a father, right? I say I grew up without a father. Obviously, I had a father, but I ended up writing my father a 4-page letter, and I was angry for years. And this was when my oldest was born. I wanted him to know my grandbaby, right? His grandbaby, my daughter. And I was angry. I was even more angry to find out that he was teaching tennis at the time. So I had to let go of that anger because I went to school on a tennis scholarship, right, with not his help, but I was angry. And then I would tell you, don't always assume it's the dad's fault, right? And so you have to be willing to forgive. You have to be able to, again, Kenny said, don't give up, right? And so keep going, and understand that sometimes you'll be in a position like Doc said that it won't be a favorable relationship, but it's not the kid's fault. You have to figure out a way to send them a text message to simply say, I love you, right? I haven't seen you in 5 years. And in my case, I took all the blame. It didn't, and it wasn't right, but I purposely took all the blame so my kids knew one thing above all else, that daddy loves me. And that'll take you and will actually help sustain you as long as your kids know you love them. So that's my tip.
Yeah, I will tell guys that your next step is your next opportunity to walk in a different direction. That you have to be humble in that situation. When you approach, whether it is your children or the mother of your children, you have to accept the response, no matter what the response is, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's whatever it is. You got to take that in and you got to absorb it without, to Sheriff's point, without excuses, without explanations, without response. You just suck all of it in. And then the last thing is negotiate a path in. Right. Once you've taken all that in, then you sit back and say, OK, I got it. I hear you. I agree with you. But what is my path in? If the path in is you got to give me some time to think about it, then that's part of the negotiation. You come back, okay, I've done what you asked. Okay, I've done what you asked. Okay, I've done what you asked. Okay, I've done what you asked, until you get what you're trying to negotiate to achieve.
Doc?
Amen.
And I would say it's important that there be no shame in your game. Be honest about what kept you out of that child's life. And it's never too late to rebuild a relationship, whether the child is 5, 10, 25. That child, whether an adult or a very young person, will may be very angry with you at the beginning, but will eventually appreciate the fact that you finally made it in.
Right.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen.
So before we leave and get about this line, I definitely want to tell all the women out there that we love you. All our queens out there, we love you. We love you. We love you. Fatherhood is a brotherhood. The reason why we're doing this is because we have to start checking ourselves and holding our brothers accountable for what they need to do. And just loving on each other, because we have been broken. And as men, I feel like we have to build each other up to make sure that we see different success stories, different outcomes in life. So my last question to each of you guys: what would you tell that woman out there that's angry, that's mad at her child's father, that's mad at her baby daddy, and is using the kid as a pawn to stop him from being in their life? What would you tell that woman, and how important is it for that father to be in that son's or that daughter's life?
Well, I think what we're talking about here is something called parental alienation, where we feel we're so angry with that partner that we feel we have to keep that parent out of that child's life, that father out of the child's life. Sometimes it's the other way around, right? Keep the mother out of the child's life. But in this case, your message is for the women here. And understand that even though you're angry with him, like the advice I gave before, take responsibility for some of the things that you may have done. Take some responsibility for where you need to move the goalpost in order to get this relationship back on track. But know that if you continue to engage in parental alienation, that not only do you hurt the chances of that father coming back into the child's life, or as we said, a mother coming back into the child's life, but you begin to destroy the mind of that child, who now has trust issues, who may dislike the other parent. As they get older, they dislike the parent who turned them against the other parent, but it affects their relationships as they get older. So again, the damage, the collateral damage is that child. So parents, please make peace with one another so that your children can be raised and can have a peaceful mind.
Pat?
I would simply say put the child first. All right. Then try and be less emotional about it. All right. There are circumstances that adults need to just deal with adult things, but put the child first and don't use them as a pawn. All right. If a man or a woman is left for whatever the reasons may be, right, and still trying to be in that child's life, let them be in that child's life. Right, that your children deserve better. All right, and don't lump your personal feelings on top of an already stressful situation. And there's no need to do that. And we'll move forward as long as we, as Doc said, right. We have to. He uses all the fancy words, right, and I can appreciate that. But really, just put the child first. And when we do that, the child will be better for it. Right. And it's interesting. A lot of times it's just us that go through this as a Black community. Right. Look across town when you see divorced parents living with each other. Right. But they're always looking to put the child first. Move next door, across the street from each other, trying to put the child first. So that would be my focus.
Kenny?
Yeah, I would start with what you said, Jay, which is let them know we love you. That this work that we're doing for ourselves is not a selfish work. It's about building ourselves so that we can become better dads and better husbands and better boyfriends and better uncles and better community-minded people and better parishioners. And we just want to be better. It's not a selfish act. We don't want to be better just for the sake of being a better man. We want to be a better man so that we show up in the lives of others in a better way, right? And so, and then I would just, I mean, both Sheriff Pat and Dr. J said everything I was going to say, but I will add this. Put yourself into a circle of women of wisdom. Put yourself in a circle of women of wisdom, not women of conversation, not women of gossip, women of wisdom, someone who could sit you down and tell you about life and tell you about the consequences of your actions, not just for you, but for your child as well. Somebody who you can trust, somebody who could tell you some things that you may not be thinking about yourself, that you can trust and you can respect. And I know that those women are in your circle, but oftentimes we know we don't want to talk to them because they're going to tell us something we don't want to hear. You got to break that. You got to be able to get yourself around women of wisdom.
Again, kings and queens, we love you. We love you. This is our town hall meeting. Fatherhood is a brotherhood. Kenny, let them know how they can get in contact with you and the organization.
You always get in contact with us by going to the website at www.fatherhoodisbrotherhood.com. You can text us if you want to be a part of the brotherhood by texting Fatherhood is Brotherhood to 66866, or you can call us on our line at 770-804-9800.
There it is, man. I appreciate you, Kings, for getting online and just giving it knowledge out, because I feel like just with our community, we definitely need this, and we need to make sure we keep doing this over and over again and keep on driving the issue. All right, I appreciate y'all. We're closing out. If you want to download it, you can download it. You can rewatch it. You know what I'm saying? Send it to your people. Send it to your friends. Spread the word that we're doing good things in Atlanta, Georgia, right here in Atlanta. A-Town. All right, peace out. Stewie Rock, J Nix, gone.